What's up guys, my name is David and welcome back to Star Wars, and today me and my friend Aidan will be ranking our top 10 favorite comic book movies. But before we get into the ranking, I just kind of wanted to give you my little new updated outlook on comic book movies. Maybe it's just because of the pandemic and quarantine and I just want to watch movies with more heart. I have been enjoying superhero movies with a lot more heart and a lot more love, and they're just overall a little bit more happier, more than the dark and gritty comic book movies. So this is all basically just to say the Dark Knight will be a little bit lower on this list, so please don't get upset. Anyways, that is how I'm currently feeling about comic book movies at the moment, so yeah, take that as you will. Let's get into the ranking, but first, Aidan, introduce yourself for like the two people who don't know who you are.
Hey everyone, my name is Aidan. I run Aidan Films. I create a lot of cool content over there about filmmaking, creative process, pop culture, stuff like that. Also do the David and Aidan show with David here from Basically Star Wars, and yeah, lots of cool stuff like that. And super excited to be on Basically Star Wars today, talking some comic book movies. It's going to be a blast. So super pumped for that. And yeah, thanks for having me on the show. And we can kind of transition on over here to my my number 10 on my top 10 comic book movies, which would be Doctor Strange. I don't have a whole lot to talk about with this movie, as most of my lists go. I typically have a lot more to say about movies as I get closer to number one, but I do think it's a really solid film. Definitely not my favorite, but it's a good film. I thought the premise was pretty cool, and I thought it was a little more unique compared to like some other Marvel movies and such. So it was a good film, and I solid number 10 on my list. So there you go. What's your number 10, David?
Before I get into number 10, I have a couple of honor mentions. I'll list all four. Spider-Man: Homecoming, Iron Man, which I fell in love with when I rewatched it last weekend. Batman Begins, and unfortunately, I really love when it's number 10, but it doesn't make it anymore, and that's Batman vs. Superman. Still love all four of those. Number 10, here's a hot take to end all hot takes. The Dark Knight. Don't get me wrong, I love this movie, and it used to be literally my favorite movie of all time. So what happened? What happened is quarantine. Like I said in the intro, I like superhero movies that are a little bit more fun, more bright. This is literally a crime drama, and that's not what I'm into right now. It's still a fantastic movie in all aspects of the movie. The Joker is amazing, the Batman's amazing, it's perfectly paced, the tension is there, everything about it is amazing. I'm enjoying other comic movies right now, but I still love it immensely, and it's probably better than a lot of the other ones here, but it's number 10 for me right now.
Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I still don't have a lot of DC stuff on my list. By a lot, I mean I don't have any DC stuff on my list. I started watching Dark Knight. It's a really good movie, and it's like I just haven't like finished it yet. Not because I don't want to watch it, just because I've been insanely busy. But yeah. I'm very, very sorry, but I will watch DC movies one day. Stay tuned on our many different internet endeavors to see the saga of Aidan finally making his way to DC. Yes, it's great. Number 9 on my list is Guardians of the Galaxy number 2. Great movie. I think the Guardians of the Galaxy films, absolutely love them. I think they're funny, and they approach humor when it comes to superhero films like in a good way. Like, some of the things I don't like about the newer Star Wars movies is like, I feel like it brings in a lot more humor in areas that don't necessarily need humor, in my personal opinion. But I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy, that specific series, I just feel like it does it really well. It brings humor into a kind of more serious franchise very well. And it's great films. It's a totally different thing than what we were used to in, Marvel and stuff. And I do like the first Guardians of the Galaxy a lot better. But number 2 is a solid number 9 on my list. So nice. There you go.
Yeah, that will make an appearance, so I'm not going to talk about it too much now. But number 9 for me is Logan. This used to be really high as well, but I just rewatched a bunch of MCU movies, and I got connected with the characters again. Still love Logan, but the truth is I'm not a big X-Men fan, so the fact that it makes number 9 is always impressive. So great movie, great personal story, great Last of Us vibes. It's just a really good movie with over-the-top violence that is used really well. It's over-the-top, but not in like, oh my god, stop.
Yeah,
it's like they use it
well. We talked about
so
that before. I think when they use it right, when they bring the rating up to R, I think, it could go either way. I think it could be unnecessary violence or whatever, but I think they played that well. I've only seen the trailer, so I can't really talk too much about it, but it's been on my list forever. I don't know why I haven't watched it yet, but I really want to watch it.
That's great.
Unfortunately, had it spoiled to me a couple times, but I've been trying to just block it out of my mind. But either way, it just looks like a great movie, and excited to give it a watch one of these days. Number 8 for me is Age of Ultron. Not a whole lot to talk about there. Just a pretty solid film for me. Not a whole lot to add there. I think it is well deserving of number 8 on my list. So there you go. That's that one for me. So yeah.
I don't want to steal your spotlight, but I do have some commentary on Age of Ultron, and it's on my list, so nice. I want to take advantage of it. I rewatched it a couple days ago, and I actually think I might like it just a little bit more than the first Avengers movie. I'm not sure if you agree. Okay, I guess you disagree. No, because I don't know. I feel like the team's already there. That's the same reason I like Flash Season 2 more than Flash Season 1 for a while. I still like Flash Season 1 more now. But I don't know, it feels already ingrained in the MCU. It feels like it has that charm. I feel like they're setting up fun stuff. The banter, I feel like, is taken to the next level. Everything is taken to another level. Some people find that as a flaw. I find that as an improvement. So just by a little bit, I think they're only a place apart in my MCU ranking. But yeah, that's our little tangent on Age of Ultron.
Awesome. Yeah, I like the original Avengers. I mean, Age of Ultron's great. I think they're both like up there for me. So yeah, that's that's what I have on that. But yeah, number 7 for me is Civil War. Great movie. It's not been as like present in my mind. I talked about this a little bit before on we talk about movies all the time, so I'm not even sure when I've talked about this, but it was like the older MCU movies like Civil War, Age of Ultron, like I feel like they're obviously like I've seen them in their movies, so like they're prevalent in my mind, but I just don't think they're as like when I really got into Marvel and stuff was shortly after like Endgame and then like Spider-Man Far From Home and Homecoming and all that stuff. Like that's kind of really what got me invested in the franchise, like for the show, like for the storyline and for all that stuff above just being a movie that you might see once or twice in a movie theater. Like so I feel like anything before that, like obviously they're good movies, they just don't, I guess, speak to me as much, so that's why it's higher up, lower on my list or whatever, but it's it's still a pretty decent film, so solid number 7 for me.
I didn't know number 8. Okay, sorry. Number 8 for me is Man of Steel. Like I made a whole video on. I love it. It's a great personal Superman story. And it's very modern. I love the casting. I love the action. Not much to say. It's pretty basic plot wise, but all the things that they do I really like.
Awesome. So I accidentally did 7 before you did 8. So
I'll take 6.
Okay, yeah, so you want to do 7. Cool.
Like you said, you have Guardians 2. I have Guardians 2 at number 7 for me. What I love most about this movie is that it's very character-driven. Like the guy we collabed with, Sean Chandler, he doesn't like it because it is character-driven. He can't really root for any plot. For me, it's exact opposite. I love that the characters progress the story. Rocket is now like a fully fleshed-out character, and he's just not the quippy raccoon. He has struggles, and I love Yondu's death. Sorry, spoiler for those who haven't seen it. But I love Yondu's death and how he can reflect himself into Yondu. All of the characters are really turn into more than just quippy superheroes, and they really become characters. So I love that it's a character story. But I will say the actual plot is kind of convoluted, but that's why it's 7. But all the good stuff is so good.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. Yeah, well put. Awesome. Yeah, so number 6 for me is Infinity War. Love the movie. I'm kind of sad to have it a little higher on my list, but again, there's just other movies on my list that I feel like rank higher in the specific ranking. But Infinity War, amazing, very well done movie. I think the ending was absolutely insane. And again, I've touched on this before, but I'll say it again. It's like it really created that pop culture experience. It's more than just the movie. It connected people so much with the fans inside and outside of the theaters, and I think again this is one of the movies that really brought me into Marvel and stuff, like to where I am today, at the point where the level of Marvel fan I am today. And it was just cool to have that experience, to go watch that in theaters, and the ending, all of that stuff. It was like the world's largest cliffhanger, and I thought it was the best thing in the world. It was really, really great. So that's what I have for that. And great number 6 on my list. I have some other ones higher up, which we'll get to, and I like them a lot more. But Infinity War, that's where I'd place it. So yeah.
Awesome. It is also my number 6. Same thing that you said. I want to focus on like the cultural stuff. That was such an event. Like my cousin perfectly said, I have never felt more connected to random people crying in the bathroom in my life. Like it was like, because you leave the theater, you all use the restroom, and everybody was just shaking because what did we just see? It was awesome. The credits, like when they actually cut to black, that was lightning in the bottle. Like wow, they did that. We have to wait another year to find out what happens. It was awesome. Some could look at it as very consumerism, but you know what? That's how movies work, and it was a great cliffhanger. But the actual team-ups were awesome. I love everything they did with Guardians. I love all the banter. The actual fights are amazing. Thanos is a great villain. I love, like I said countless times, great villain story. So overall, an amazing comic book movie.
Awesome. Yeah. Very good. Very good description. I think that really sums it up. And yeah, it's like, it's crazy. I miss this. The number one thing I miss of going to like movie theaters and stuff is just how connected you are to the viewers. Like, you exit the movie theater after all these people have seen the same movie, and like, you don't even have to talk to people. You just know that everyone's kind of thinking about the same stuff, and it's such a cool experience. So hopefully things open up someday. We'll have to see, but I'm still keeping my fingers crossed for Tenet. We'll see. But yeah, number 5 for me is Iron Man. It was the film that started it all. That's what I wrote down, and it's such a good movie. And it's like, again, it's like the very first film in the MCU, and it's like, it's what, started everything else that we've come to love. Like, the movie itself was fine, and I really enjoyed the movie. Again, it's in that kind of category of MCU films that's like, I like, but I haven't, like, developed a huge connection with. But the reason why I have this film ranked higher on my list is solely because it literally started the entire franchise, and if without it, it would look vastly different. So it's it's a really, really good film, and I think it's it's a good film on its own, but it's also a film that kind of perpetuated like the entire series. So that's solid 5 on my list. So yeah,
love that it's that awesome. High. Let's see. Number 5 for me is Civil War. I actually rewatched this last night. Yeah, it's great. I forgot how great of a personal superhero movie it is. I mean, it has amazing spectacles, don't get me wrong, but what I think it thrives the most is the personal aspect. Like, we have this is totally what could happen if superheroes exist. You would have some people who believe they're vigilantes, some people who's like, no, there's a burning building, I'm going to run into it even if the government says no. One thing that bugged me is that Spider-Man and Tony's interaction when they first meet, Peter's interaction, he totally should be on Team Cap. He's all about looking out for the little guy. But besides that fog, which really bugged me, but besides that, everything else about this movie is amazing. All the personal stuff and all like the grand action, especially the airport scene and then the fight between Tony and Rogers. Amazing stuff. So yeah, love this movie a lot.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a very good movie. Again, had it higher on my list, but like the little mini review there. Very cool. Number 4 for me is Guardians of the Galaxy, the number 1, the original one, and it's so good. Again, it's like, I love Guardians of the Galaxy films. I think they approach humor very well. I think it was the first kind of like, it was just different. It was like set in space. It's like Star Wars meets MCU sort of. It's like the origin story of like the whole story. It's just great plot, great story in general. I just think it's a very, very well done film, and I think the first one I like a lot more than the second one, like I mentioned, and very, very solid number 4 on my list. I think it's a great film, so I have to rewatch them. I haven't watched them in a little bit now, so probably if I watch them again, they'll rank even higher. Yes, but yeah, that's where it is for now. So yeah, but yeah.
So that was number 4, right?
Yes.
Okay, number 4 for me is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, an amazing Spider-Man movie. There's really not much to say that's already been said. The art style is amazing, the actual story is amazing. I love all the different Spider-Mans. You have the broken Spider-Man, you have, the golden boy Spider-Man, you have Miles, and then you have all the fun ones like the pig who's Spider-Man, Nicolas Cage Spider-Man. Everything about this is just so cool, and a love letter to Spider-Man, the character, and Spider-Man fans. It's just so great, and then just the visuals just make it even better. So that's my short little review.
It's so good. I will talk a lot more about that in a little bit, but it's such a good movie. It's so good. I can't wait to talk about it. But moving on though for a second, we have number 3 for me is Endgame.
Nice.
A little bit lower on my list. So it's not right up there, and I love the movie. Again, it's great, and it's again, it's the whole experience of watching the movie with the fans. I thought Endgame was absolutely amazing. I love the length of the film. It's so good. We'll say it before we'll say it again. Watch our Endgame review out on Aidan Films
do that.
a year ago, and it's still one of my favorite videos that we've ever made because it was just so much fun to make and collaborate on, and it was great. And I think Endgame just, I don't know, it just so much stuff came out of that. Like, watch the movie and, you got to have that experience. You got to have the experience of, like, making reviews on it. It was just a really, really fun experience. So, I think they played Iron Man's death beautifully. I think the length was great. I think it was just an amazing plot. It was a very, very well-made film. So, number 3 for me. Yeah.
Let's see. Number 3 for me. I'm not gonna waste any time. Guardians of the Galaxy. Star Wars meets the MCU and a talking raccoon.
Yes.
All I need to say. It's beautiful. I love that movie so much, and the soundtrack. I've been listening to that a lot. I love the soundtrack. It's amazing. So yeah, this is just a great movie. I would say the only problem is like the villain is kind of whatever, but some people hate the villain, but I'm like, it's fine. It's just light Thanos.
Yeah, and I think you're reminding me about the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. I agree. It's I'll have to look that up after we're done recording because it's a good soundtrack, and I haven't I listened to a lot of those songs individually, but kind of just pulling it together and seeing the soundtrack again would be really cool. So very cool. Number 2 for me. This is going to be kind of a surprise. Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Wow, it happened. Okay,
put it down to number 2. So it's I think everyone knows what my number 1 is. We'll get to that. But it's a great Spider-Man movie. I think it was the first movie that brought Spider-Man into the MCU. I thought very well done. It was a really, really great Spider-Man movie. I think Tom Holland does an absolutely amazing job of Spider-Man. I think this movie also really, Spider-Man, obviously, he's now my favorite superhero. He has been for a long time since Spider-Man Homecoming came out. That's the movie that got me so into Spider-Man, and since then, I've kind of appreciated all the different iterations of Spider-Man, but I do think the MCU Spider-Man does something a little bit different, and I think those movies are just so much fun to watch. It's just a really good, fun movie. So I have that there, and I think it's a great movie, and I could talk about it all day. But that's my short little hot take there on that. So yeah,
love it. Let's see. Number 2 for me is Avengers: Endgame. Everything that you said, awesome. I will agree with that completely. I love how it breaks down into 3 very nice acts. The Avengers healing, time heist, comic book glory. It's amazing. It's so rewatchable, and that's saying a lot given that it's 3 hours long. And it just feels like the perfect, well thought out conclusion. Yes, there are nitpicky flaws. I've talked about them. I'm sure you've talked about them. Everybody has talked about them, but it just comes together so well, and I love it. It's all the words. It's thrilling. It's awesome. It's emotional. It's it's beautiful, and I love it. That's what comic movies should be, and I love it.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about Endgame, the big flaw, is just the time travel, but at the same time, you can easily look past all of that kind of stuff for what the movie is as a whole. So that's what I would say on that. But moving on to my number 1. My number 1 is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Nice.
Absolutely amazing movie. Very happy to have this at number 1. I've been working on this list for a while. Things have kind of, it's overall same movies, but they've kind of swapped places for a while. And more recently, Spider-Verse went up to number 1. And I think it's just such a good movie. I've rewatched it now a few more times. Actually, literally just discovered this movie this year. I mean, I had known about it, but I hadn't watched it until quarantine, and then I finally did, and I'm like, why hadn't I watched this before? So it's so good. I absolutely love the art style. The art style is so cool because if we're talking about comic book films, this feels like a comic book is coming to life in front of your eyes because it's they have the little text animations, and it just feels... It's so unique in terms of any kind of animation I've ever seen. It's just such a unique film, and I love the art style. I think the storyline is really good, very strong storyline. And then putting all that aside, just the music, the soundtrack of that film is superb. I mean, I listen to that music all the time. I've been listening to the album a lot lately, and it's just all around amazing film. So I would, if anyone's like me and hasn't watched it, just do yourself a favor, go get a Netflix trial and watch the film. Yes. It does not disappoint. So,
it's so good. I'm glad it's your number 1. I'm really glad it's your number 1. Because I've always loved that one so much more than Homecoming, and you always put it above. No, but I'm so glad you have it above now. But both are amazing. Don't get me wrong. I love Homecoming. But number 2 for me on the same vein as Spider-Man is number 1 for me on the same vein as Spider-Man is Spider-Man 2. Awesome. This is new. This is shocking for me because it was always up there, but it's always it's good, but maybe it's not as good as people say. No, rewatching it clicked for me. I think it's because I was really bored one day. I'm like, okay, I need a movie to watch, and this was just so lovely. I know that sounds weird saying it, but it was just so much fun to watch, and I love the character of Peter Parker in this movie. I love the story and how cheesy it is. I made a whole little video essay talking about that one spectacular scene, the whole raindrops montage. Mm-hmm. And how that you can look at that scene and show how perfectly Raimi balances tones throughout it. It's that could be his life if he wasn't Spider-Man, but that's his calling. he is Spider-Man. So it's a great personal superhero story with just some amazing casting, amazing action, and just the tone. That's what I love the most. The tones are balanced so well. It goes from a drama, like it's primarily a superhero drama, and then it also goes to just, campy fun, and it also has superhero action. It's so well balanced. I love it so much.
Yeah. Awesome. Very, very good review. I like the other Spider-Man movies. Like I said, I think, like after watching Homecoming and stuff, it kind of brought me into those. I just think I still have kind of a larger connection with like the MCU Spider-Mans. But yeah, very cool. I like that ranking there. I'll have to give it a rewatch too. I haven't watched it in a while, so very cool. All right, we made it to number 1. Awesome.
Yes, we did. So I really don't have anything else to say, so if you want to plug your channel one more time, I guess you could do that.
Of course. Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Aidan Films, Twitter, Aidan_Films, and Instagram, _it's_Aidan. Also TikTok, Aidan Films. I've been doing daily TikToks, so that's been fun. Check me out there if you want to see me before it gets banned.
Right.
So yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Awesome, definitely check him out. He makes great videos, and of course check out the David and Aidan show, which we do hopefully like every week, but not always all the time. Sort of, exactly. But if you enjoyed this video and you watched it all the way through, then you probably will enjoy this channel, so please consider subscribing, give it a like, all that stuff. I will see you next video. May the force be with you.